My girlfriend and I took a vacation to the deep woods of Vermont, right before the pandemic began. We drove our old Jeep for hours, passing lonely towns and endless stretches of empty fields. The mountain air felt unbelievably fresh, the kind of crispness that makes your chest feel lighter. Birds echoed through the forest, and the wind through the leaves made a soft, calming hiss as we followed the winding dirt road to the isolated cabin we had rented. Honestly, that road trip alone felt better than most vacations. Just the two of us, the Jeep rattling, and the peace of the mountains embracing us. The first night felt like pure magic. We soaked in the hot tub beneath a sky full of stars, so bright it felt unreal. No city lights to dull them. After dinner, and too many episodes of American Dad, we finally crawled into bed, tired in the best way. Sometime after midnight, a violent bang shook the front door. It was so loud, so deep, that it sounded like someone had kicked the metal door with all their strength. Then silence. Not a shuffle, not a breath, just emptiness. I lay in bed, frozen, unsure if I heard something real or dreamed it. But the next morning, during breakfast, I casually asked my girlfriend if she heard anything. The look she gave me told me everything. Yes, she had heard it too. The path leading to the front door was nothing but soft dirt. There was absolutely no way for someone to approach without leaving clear footprints. I opened the heavy metal door, glanced down at the ground, and saw nothing except our own tracks. But the door itself, a deep, clean dent punched right into the steel. Whatever hit, it was powerful, and whatever hit it left no trace of how it got there or where it went. I tried not to let it ruin the trip. We looked around the house and checked our Jeep. Nothing else was touched, so we brushed it off and continued our day. The second night started peacefully, too hot tub, stars, dinner, more shows. But when we finally went to bed again, something in the atmosphere had shifted. As soon as I lay down, I felt it, that unmistakable sense that you're being watched. But this wasn't coming from one direction. It felt like it was everywhere, like the wood-paneled walls themselves had eyes built into them. Every inch of the house felt alive with silent observers. The sensation crawled beneath my skin until my hair stood on end. It genuinely felt like someone or many someones were standing just out of sight. And the worst part, I had an overwhelming feeling that if I acknowledged it, even internally, everything would explode into something much worse. So I said nothing. I barely slept. The old cabin made occasional settling noises, old beams stretching, floors creaking. But there was something extra in the air that night, the kind of pressure that fills a room with dread, making even breathing feel loud. The third morning hit harder. The uneasy feeling that had only existed at night now clung to the air, even in daylight. It felt like one wrong word would set off a chain reaction of angry spirits ripping the place apart. Leaving the cabin to explore was a huge relief. But returning that evening, that was a mistake. The final night turned into a nightmare. As I lay in bed, the feeling intensified until I felt completely powerless. I began feeling touches soft but deliberate on my feet, my shoulder, my hair, even lightly brushing my ear. My girlfriend, who usually slept lightly, was restless beside me, tossing and turning. I heard breathing close, too close, breathing that did not belong to either of us. My skin tingled, almost buzzing, like invisible electricity crawling across it. Then the noises started, footsteps in the main part of the house, furniture shifting, chairs scraping across the floor, objects being moved and dragged. It sounded like a full Thanksgiving gathering was happening outside our bedroom. By 2 a.m., I hit my breaking point. I knew that staying until morning might mean something would finally show itself. I had to get us out. I turned to wake my girlfriend gently, but she wouldn't wake up. She's the lightest sleeper I know, yet she lay there still and peaceful, completely unreachable. I shook her, whispered, nudged her shoulders. Nothing. Panic washed over me. The staircase to the bedroom was narrow and dangerously steep. If I tried to carry her and slipped, she could be badly hurt. Leaving her behind wasn't an option, and staying felt like willingly accepting death. So I sat there in the dark, awake, trembling, feeling phantom touches all over my body, while the house outside rearranged itself. Chairs scraping, footsteps pacing, something moving heavy furniture back and forth. But I could not move. I could not speak. We were trapped. Then, as soon as the first thin line of sunlight touched the mountaintops, everything stopped. I tried waking my girlfriend again, and this time she blinked awake instantly, as if nothing had happened. We packed in absolute silence and drove away without breakfast or coffee. The moment we pulled away from the house, we finally started talking. She confessed she felt the same heavy presence every night and had been afraid to speak about it, terrified it would trigger something worse. But on the final night, she said she felt like she closed her eyes and morning arrived instantly, like something had kept her in a deep, unnatural sleep. Living in rural New England, you can't just dismiss the paranormal. People here grow up with ghost stories woven into their neighborhoods. I never believed in any of it until I moved out here. My friends and I have witnessed things before, but nothing like that cabin. Whatever lived in that house, it wasn't just one entity, and it despised having guests. A poltergeist infestation is the only explanation that makes sense. It's also no surprise none of the reviews mentioned anything. Owners also review the guests, and no one wants a bad rating on that rental app. I get it. I said nothing in my review either, but that cabin taught me something important. The feeling of being watched from the tree line or beyond the old stone fence isn't always your imagination, and it isn't always an animal. Sometimes something else is watching. In October of 2017, halfway through a 2-week music tour across Europe, my band and I were somewhere between exhaustion, excitement, and the strange rhythm of living on the road. We had performed across several countries, new cities every night, new crowds, new energy, but nothing from that tour haunts me the way one night in Zurich does. Even now, the memory sits in my mind like a shadow I can't explain. There were 4 of us, driving around in an overworked Honda Jazzweed, brought all the way from Scotland, stuffed with our instruments and whatever clothes we managed to pack. Some venues gave us meals and a place to sleep, which was heaven after spending 8 or 9 hours folded into that tiny car. None of us wanted to turn down a warm room or a hot meal. By the time we reached Zurich, the others were excited to explore the nightlife, grab drinks, meet people, just breathe after a long day. But I was done. My body felt drained, and all I wanted was silence. Maybe a bit of scrolling on my phone, and a chance to close my eyes without hearing the roar of an engine. When the venue owner led us upstairs to the room, we expected something basic: 4 walls, a bed each, maybe a shared bathroom. Instead, it was one of the most modern Airbnb spaces I'd ever seen. Clean wooden floors, stylish furniture, 2 huge bedrooms with king-size beds, a fully equipped kitchen, and even a jacuzzi tub. The windows looked out over the glowing city lights. There was even a little brochure on the table, saying the building had stood since the year 1260, which felt insane considering everything looked brand new. 1,000 years of history hidden under smooth paint and renovations. I decided to sleep in the open common area on my blow-up mattress, which sat in the center of all the connecting doors. My bandmates headed out, one joking about taking a bath when he got back. I said goodnight, rolled over onto my mattress, and quickly drifted off. Sometime in the night, I woke up to the soft but steady sound of dripping water plink. Plink, plink. It echoed faintly in the darkness. The blinds were mostly closed, but faint slivers of city light painted thin lines across the floor. I sighed, annoyed, assuming someone had taken that bath and left the tap running. Later, I'd learn. No one had used the bathroom at all. The wall clock showed it was just after 3 a.m. I pulled the blanket over my head and tried to go back to sleep. But then, something pressed down hard on the left corner of my mattress, not like someone touching it, more like a sudden weight dropping onto it. It lifted the opposite side of the mattress enough that I shifted an inch off the ground. It reminded me of standing on a bouncy castle when someone jumps on the edge. My breath caught. Cold fear sliced through me. Then it happened again, this time, almost like a child nudging someone awake. My chest tightened. My breathing stopped. A wave of cold dread washed over me. I threw the blanket aside and looked toward the foot of my bed. Nothing. But when I looked further past the dining table, just a few feet away, someone was standing there. A shape, a figure, a shadow so dark it swallowed the light around it. I blinked to focus, and then I saw her. A girl. Maybe my height. Long black hair reaching all the way down to her feet. Skin almost bluish. Clothes clinging like she'd been drenched in rain. And worst of all, she had no face. Nothing. Just blank. Smooth skin where a face should have been. I tried to scream, but no sound came out. I froze. She didn't move, just stood there, staring at me without eyes. I panicked, turned away, yanked the blanket back over myself, and squeezed my eyes shut. I kept telling myself, go to sleep, go to sleep, go to sleep. At some point, I must have passed out from fear. When I opened my eyes again, soft sunlight was seeping through the blinds. One of my bandmates was sitting at the dining table, typing on his laptop. Relief washed over me. I sprang up and rushed to tell him everything. He laughed, shook his head, and told me it was just a dream. Then Gary, one of the most grounded, skeptical guys you'd ever meet, stepped out of one of the bedrooms. His face was pale, his movements stiff. At first, I thought he was hungover, but something in his eyes looked wrong. We packed our gear and made our way to the lobby. Two of the guys went to get the car, while Gary and I stayed behind with the luggage. Sipping his coffee, looking shaken, I asked him if he slept well. Before I could say anything else, he whispered, "Mate, you wouldn't believe me if I told you." My heart dropped. I asked him what happened. He stared into his cup for a long moment before finally answering. In the middle of the night, someone climbed into bed with me. He thought one of us was messing with him, so he turned to look. No one was there, but he felt the bed sink under someone's weight. He felt the blanket rise, then settle, like a body sliding in next to him. He said the presence beside him was freezing cold, but invisible. He was too terrified to move, too terrified to call for help. He just shut his eyes and forced himself to sleep. That was why he looked so pale. He hadn't slept. He hadn't taken a bath. He hadn't even gotten out of bed until morning. We sat there in silence, realizing we had experienced something. Together, different parts of the same nightmare, the same presence. By the time the car pulled up, Gary and I had already made an unspoken agreement. We would never, ever stay in Zurich again. And to this day, we still don't talk about the faceless girl who stood in that room.